No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show. A double day. The Illegal Curve hockey show started it all off at 9 a.m. The Illegal Curve post-game show wraps it up on this Saturday night. I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Dave Manouk is with me as well. We're here to discuss the Winnipeg Jets' one-sided, dominant victory over the listless, absent, no-show Vancouver Canucks, who get absolutely embarrassed on home ice by a 5-1 margin. Dave, we talked about it this morning. You know, we talked about how the Winnipeg Jets, and we talked about it really throughout the course of the year, how the Winnipeg Jets this year are laying waste to teams that are below them and laying waste to the teams that should beat them. We remember the games against Chicago this year so far, where the Jets went in there and just controlled the game. I think it was a couple Sundays ago now where they went into Chicago and was absolutely, a dominant victory. You saw a similar game tonight. I mean, the Jets with a laundry list of injuries, just like the Vancouver Canucks, because you have to notice that you have to make note that the Canucks were absent some of their top players tonight as
and
well.
Drew, and the Jets, but for the record, we'll talk about it. But that laundry list expanded for the Winnipeg Jets. But keep going. I agree with you.
Yeah, look. So I mean, both teams missing key contributors. But the way that the Jets went into Vancouver tonight, particularly in that second period, although, I mean, the first period they were, they outshot Vancouver, whatever it was, 11-3 or 12-3 at the end of the first period.
I think I looked at the advanced stats and they were 0.13 for Vancouver.
0.13 in terms of expected goals.
Yeah.
I mean, look, the Jets went in with the mindset of, we are the better team and we are going to prove that we are the better team with how we play the game.
Yeah.
And they did. And Vancouver was embarrassing. And the Jets deserve credit for embarrassing their opponent. Because, when you can do it and do that without, embarrassing yourselves, you're doing something pretty good. And the Jets went into Vancouver tonight, and for the first time this year that they played the Canucks, and in one of the weirdest stats, they showed it just briefly at the end of the game. I don't know if you saw it. The first time ever that Rick Bowness has beat the Vancouver Canucks as a head coach, which is really hard to believe. He's been a head coach around this league, for more than a cup of coffee. But the first time he's ever beaten the Vancouver Canucks.
But if you think about it, if he was out in the East, he wouldn't have played the Canucks very much.
Fair enough. But
you
would think even when he was with Dallas, he would have beaten them once.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, whatever it was, first time he ever beat the Vancouver Canucks as a head coach, and he didn't beat them. He dominated them, and the team in front of him dominated them. And look, the injuries are there's a plethora of injuries for this Winnipeg Jets team, and they're not short-term injuries. None of these injuries are short-term, as we
Rick Bowness today said none of them will be less than 3 to 4 weeks.
Right.
And for the record, that was a blanket statement. And if you go on illegalcurve.com, I've got the full list of all the guys, and we know obviously we've added Blake Wheeler and Nate Schmidt to that list, but obviously with Nick Ehlers, Mason Appleton, Saku Manalainen, and Logan Stanley. So you got 6 guys right now, and none of them are less than a month away. And look, I would imagine if I'm Rick Bowness, I'm using that. And if they're back earlier, fantastic. But he didn't make a mistake when he said 3 or 4 weeks, and it won't be earlier. So it's a laundry list of guys that are, and look, you expect that injuries happen and you need to be able to rely on your depth, and the Jets have depth within the Manitoba Moose organization, and guys are able to recall and step in and play a role for this Jets club. But it's not an insignificant one when you're losing. We've talked about it, Drew. The third and fourth line guys are fairly interchangeable. When you're losing a guy like Wheeler, who's been contributing and at a level that, you aren't necessarily going to say that's easily replaceable.
You're down your top 3 right wingers from the start of the season, which is, and you're what now, 29-1?
Yeah.
I mean, this is, we're sort of running out of adjectives and we're running out of ways to compliment the Jets and say how impressive this is.
For the record,
Because,
just to quantify it
yeah,
slightly, just if you want to compare this year to last year, this
yeah,
year the Jets picked up their 20th win in Game 30. Last year they got their 20th win in Game 45.
well, so
So I mean, they
yeah,
won in
night and day.
December. Yeah, in December they won that, Game 20, end of
Mhm.
December, mid December. And it's not even obviously in terms of games, exactly, but they didn't get their 30th win till like sometime in February. I think it was
The
like
20th win.
February.
Yeah.
That's right, 20th win sometime in February.
Well, I mean, you can see it's not the same team as last year, and I think we have to stop comparing them to last year, because
No, I
last year's
agree.
team, it was such a disaster
Yeah.
that I understand why the comparisons happen, and I get it, and it's because it's largely, by and large, a very similar team with just a new leadership. But last year was done. It's flushed. It's over with. They're a completely different team, and they just go out there and they lay waste to weak opponents. And what they did to Vancouver tonight. I mean, you can see. We talked about it this morning on the show. Like, what are the Vancouver Canucks?
Not a
They're
very good
not
hockey
good
team.
enough. They're not a very good hockey team. But
And
I
especially
mean,
when you lose a couple of their big boys,
mhm.
I think they were ill, right, Drew? Is that
Yes, yeah, exactly right. So they're without they were without who Brock Besser, I think, tonight,
Besser and
and
Pedersen?
Pedersen. So you're
Yeah.
without two important players, no question. But how do you respond?
Oh,
You have
absolutely.
adversity.
No, I
You're in the
agree.
face of adversity. How do you respond? How did the Jets respond in the face of adversity? Where, I mean, none of us, we talked about it, or we had the show this morning. None of us, nobody knew that Blake Wheeler wasn't on the road trip, because he came back and he played the entire third period.
Absolutely.
And then it was only, after the morning skate today that we found out that he's out a month. So none of us knew that. So how do you respond in that adversity? How do you respond when your name is called and your back is against the wall and things are a little bit more difficult? Well, Vancouver wilted and just said, we don't want to be here. We don't want to play the game. We don't want to have anything to do with it. The Winnipeg Jets stood up and said, okay, it sucks, but we're going to be better. And we're going to go out there and we're going to perform and we're going to show that we are greater, that we are more than the sum of our parts.
Well, and Drew, just to add on, I think we've talked about it. What have the Jets successfully done all year? They have defeated the teams they needed to defeat. They respected their opponent, but they defeated them. And that to me is a significant change from a Jets club that we didn't see do that enough. And I know I agree with you, but because it's largely the same team, it's hard to dismiss what happened last year versus what's happening this year, because we are looking at largely the same group. And so, but they're not doing that. They're respecting their opponents enough, and yet they know, you're right, they're better than this other team, and they let it to them, and so, or they gave it to them, really. And so Vancouver was never really in this hockey game.
No.
Were they? I mean, like,
No.
the Jets really controlled it from the outset of the contest, at least from my perspective. So I don't know. I go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, sorry for interrupting you. I pulled an Ezzy there. That the Jets went out there, they scored the opening goal, and then Vancouver was just like, okay, fine, not going to be it's not going to be our night. I mean,
Drew, the Vancouver Canucks were that one guy who threw his jersey on or girl, whatever, who I don't know who was, threw the jersey on. First of all, can we just quickly sidebar and talk about how stupid throwing your jersey on the ice is? First of all, the team already made money off of the jersey you bought for that, from either from them or, in some capacity. So they made money off of it. Number one. Number two, it's just overdone. Like, fine, the first time, I get it. It's shocking.
Right.
Woo. The second time, not necessarily in that market, but just in general, it's now just overdone. Like,
now you have to start lighting yourself on fire while wearing the jersey. That's how you really make an impact.
Drew, let's not give this quickly.
Let me hang on.
Let's disclaim this right now. So we
our lawyers advise us to say that this was humor, or attempted humor. That satirical comment by yours truly should not be taken seriously. And Illegal Curve and all of its subsidiaries take no responsibility if anybody attempts to listen to my foolishness. So please do not burn yourself alive while wearing your hockey team's jersey to protest your team's performance.
But now back to my point, which was a little bit less aggressive than your point, Drew. Your additional point, I should say, is the fact that it's just a stupid thing to do at this point. Like it's not, doesn't have any sort of meaning other than, and it didn't even stop the game. Before, at least it would like stop the game, be annoying. Now it doesn't even stop the game. The linesman was just like, yoink, I got that. Play kept on going. So you had no impact. You're probably going to get banned from the arena. It's just stupid. It's enough. And I mean, I don't think it's ever happened in Winnipeg. I don't think anybody's ever tossed a jersey here. So
we're Winnipeggers. We're way too cheap to do that.
That's a good point. Exactly. Exactly.
We might show our displeasure in other ways, but we're not spending money and then throwing our hard-earned money on the ice like that. Come on.
Very good point. Anyways, instead, the only thing Winnipeggers did was throw thousands of teddy bears on the ice today for the teddy bear toss in support of the Christmas cheerboard. So Winnipeggers are smart. They throw those teddy bears to help others, help out fellow Manitobans. That's a better way of throwing anything. If you want to throw something on the ice, that's what you're going to do.
You know what part of the game that it's not going to show up on the score sheet very much. I mean, the block shots are. So they just did a great job blocking a number of shots. But even in the first period, when it's still only a 1-goal game, I thought that the Canucks, when they had zone time in the Jets zone, and everything was kept to the outside, which is, which was a great job. And obviously when you're to the outside, you're not generally in a great scoring opportunity. I thought the Jets sticks in tonight's game, particularly in that first period when it was still a close game, were really impressive. The Jets were in all the passing lanes. Yeah. And so there were times where the Canucks had decent possession, but they were just so far outside, and the Jets were so well positioned defensively, both the forwards and the defense, that Vancouver had no option. They could fire sort of a meaningless shot towards Connor Hellebuck, and largely those shots got blocked a whole bunch of times as well. But the Jets did such a good job of just keeping everything to the outside and not letting Vancouver make any dangerous passes, that I wanted to mention that before we get into the Betway game recap, because I thought that look, in the first period it was just a 1-0 game. 1-0 means one shot, one goal, it's a tie game. But the Jets were so tight, and I say that in a complimentary way. They were so responsible and they were so effective that I just thought as the first period went along, Vancouver, who weren't any good to begin with, just kept getting more and more demoralized, and they weren't able to penetrate the Winnipeg Jets defenses, so they just gave up and said, okay, we're not going to bother trying anymore. I mean, that's really, I think, a big portion of it. As bad as Vancouver was on their own, I think the Jets also did a great job in making them worse and making them play worse. Oftentimes, teams find their game and get better as the game goes on. Vancouver lost their game and got worse as the game went on, and I think that is a credit to the Winnipeg Jets, Dave.
Well, and it's funny because I mean, I always think it's hilarious when people get mad about things we tweet, as if we somehow have an impact in any way, shape, or form. But I tweeted in the third period, or in the second period, I think it was the Moose had a good day, the Ice had a good day, and will the Jets 3-0 lead? And someone was like, "But you hate the Wave." I'm like, "But I don't really hate the Wave because of jinxing. I just hate the Wave because I hate the Wave."
I don't know why you hate the Wave. If fans are having a good time,
well, hold on. I was thinking about it today.
Why do you hate fun, Dave?
Well, I hate fun, but I will tell you, kids doing the Wave, no problem. Today in the Moose game, kids were doing the Wave. Dave M, zero problem with the Wave. When the kids are doing it, I like kids do anything in a game because I think kids bring great energy. And again, I have to say, there is nothing I love more than listening to little kids. Scrum happening. Tico Napoli, he must have been influencing them. But there's a scrum happening on, around sometime in the game. And all you hear is these little voices yelling, fight, fight, fight. And they just want blood. It's actually the best. These kids are bloodthirsty. It's actually hilarious to listen to. So kids doing the Wave, totally fine. Adults doing the Wave, don't think so.
Dave M hates fun. That's not breaking news here on the Illegal Curve post-game show, but nonetheless, it's worth reiterating that Dave, while altogether usually a decent guy, does hate fun when it comes to the Wave. Let's get into the Betway game recap, Mr. Manouk. The Betway game recap is, of course, brought to you by our friends at Betway, one of the most trusted voices in sports betting, both in Canada and all around the world. Kudos to me, who had the Jets minus a goal and a half and under 6.5 goals in tonight's game, winning my parlay, so yay me. Betway is the sports betting app that puts you, the customer, at the forefront with a large selection of betting options in sports, as well as strong promotions and fair odds. What are you waiting for? Head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play. Please play responsibly. The Jets opened the scoring. We mentioned it. It wasn't quite the game-winning goal, but it might as well have been the game-winning goal, because after this one, Vancouver didn't fight back at all. Kyle Connor, his 13th on the year, assist to Pierre-Luc Dubois and Josh Morrissey. It's a power play goal coming very early in that first period. We talked about the power play versus the penalty kill as one of the key things to watch in tonight's game, Dave. In that Vancouver came in with the 30th ranked penalty kill in the league. We know the Jets power play has been, it had some peaks and it's sort of been average as of late, but the Jets power play certainly started off on the right foot with this 1-0 goal very early in the first period.
Yeah, and that's kind of what you wanted to see from the Jets, was you wanted to see them get things going early. And we've talked about it. Special teams need to be special, and that's what we saw from a Jets team. Look, the Canucks have no answers. So this is one of those games. Oh man, no banging on the glass. Don't get me started on glass bangers. That's a whole nother topic for another day.
Well, that's, again, for those who are in the podcast, Beer League's comment on the screen right now is the no banging on the glass thing I can understand, but the way he's saying Dave is a Grinch.
That's fine.
I would agree that Dave. And if you really want to go deep into the archives, Beer League or anyone else listening or anyone in the chat, go to, I think you can Google just illegal curve plus glass bangers.
It's like glass bangers. True fans are morons. For the record, they're morons.
And how many years ago was that article written?
I want to say 2009, maybe.
Okay, so we've been around for a very, very long time, folks. 13 years ago, you can go back into the
the website
archives.
Goes back to 2007, Drew.
Yes, you can go if you go back. Yeah, go back to 2007. You can see some of the previous articles that we wrote regarding the controversial topics of the day. Dave M tackling the one about glass banging, of course.
Exactly. Now, the only glass banging, although again, when Mickey Moose is banging the glass, that's a little bit more acceptable. But Dark Moon is telling you to wave, smile.
Dark
wave,
Moon, Dark Moon loves to see Dave or myself. I don't know if he asked Ezzy to wave or not. I don't remember. But Dark Moon always asks us to wave. So I'm in a jovial mood. Could have something to do that I've been drinking since 4:30 this afternoon, but that's okay. So I'll smile and I'll wave, Dark Moon. So
Drew, I will get into Kyle Connor's 13th goal of the season in 1 second, but folks did want to know, because you did have to duck out early.
I did have to ghost on the show this morning.
So first of all, people enjoyed the dark room as he made a very good point. I have to say, I should have changed your name in the chat to Drew's Dark Room. Would have been much better rather than leaving up your name, Drew Mandel. So I wish I would have done that. But did you have a nice time? That's what people wanted to know.
Yes, we had a very lovely time. It was a sort of a family event that I had to attend. And I had a very enjoyable time with my wife and my kids. I mean, it's sort of at an unusual time, given that I had to leave the show early, and everyone knows I'm usually here on Saturday mornings. But I appreciate you and Ezzy helping me out and holding down the fort.
Yes, I managed to do a little bit of an extended Manuk movement, Drew. So it was good times. It was good times.
That's good.
It was very tough. It was very hard.
As long as you guys enjoyed it, and yes, I appreciate you guys watching out for my best interest while I was gone.
Anyways, back to the goal. Look, first of all, got to give Pierre-Luc Dubois credit, because I mean he looks over, sees Kyle Connor, makes a phenomenal pass, and Kyle Connor, they mentioned on the broadcast, he knows when to use his speed, and he also knows when to pull it back a little bit. And Kyle Connor finds the time and space. And we had Kevin Woodley, who talked about Martin on the show today extensively. Mm-hmm. But it's and I know he's made some serious gains. Kyle Connor, with that kind of time and space, he's a hard guy to make a save on, and he didn't. and the Jets have a 1-0 lead, and that's Kyle Connor's 13th of the season. So Kyle Connor, I mean, we talk about his goal scoring so much, and it's amazing to think he's got 191 goals. And 186
this year,
not this year, Drew. If you would let me finish, in his career, and 186 assists. He's really even Steven when it comes to goal scoring, but he's a lethal passer. And this year he's on pace for I think a 90-point season, but he's on pace for almost 60 assists. And his career high last year was 47. but Kyle Connor is just a phenomenal passer, and we'll get into his passing a little bit later. But I'm just saying it's just amazing to me that, everybody focuses on what, and I understand 47 goals last year. That's something that has people focused, obviously, but he's an extraordinarily good passer. And like I said, he's on pace for 60 this year. So pretty good start for the season for Kyle Connor in that regard.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't a pretty good start to the game for the Jets, taking that 1-0 lead, and of course that 1-0 lead lasts through until the
and by the way,
second.
Drew, sorry, before we get to the second,
Yeah,
I mean, you talk about no push. The Canucks had 2 shots, like with 5 minutes to go in the and I think they finished the first with what, 3?
3 shots. So you're right. They had 2 shots despite having 2 power plays in that time frame. So in the first 15 minutes of the game, where the Jets took those 2 hooking penalties, who was it? Sam Gagner took one, if I'm not mistaken, and was it Perfetti?
Yeah, it was Perfetti.
Yeah. Okay. So Sam Gagner took the first one at 6:21. And then Cole Perfetti at 13:11. They both took hooking penalties. Vancouver had 4 minutes of power play time in the first 15 minutes of the game and generated a grand total of 2 shots in that time frame. 3 shots total for the period. To some extent, that speaks to what I was saying about the Jets and having good sticks and having good positioning and keeping everything to the outside. But still, I mean, as good as the Jets played in their own zone, you got 4 minutes of power play time. You're supposed to be generating at least a little bit more than 2 shots on goal. That was just, it was emblematic of the embarrassing effort that the Canucks put forth tonight.
Yeah. No, that's 100%. You're right. It's nothing is a testament to the Canucks, or more damning, I should say, to the Canucks than not generating anything. When you have the man advantage and it's that poor an effort. I mean, like you said, Drew, every team has to deal with absences. And if you can't overcome yours, well, this is what your team is. And the fact that people are talking about the Canucks as a playoff team. Oh, yikes. Dear Lord.
Would it surprise you? And I don't think it's warranted, but watching that game tonight, would it surprise you if, Bruce Boudreau, who doesn't seem like he's long for the job anyways, would it surprise you if tomorrow you woke up and found out they dismissed Bruce Boudreau? Look, I don't think Bruce Boudreau is the problem in Vancouver. Let me just make that perfectly clear. The problem in Vancouver is that the organization has no philosophy. Right. It has no game plan, and it has no northern light that can guide them through whatever they're going through in terms of trying to rebuild and rejig this roster. Right. But they need a fall guy. And Bruce Boudreau has never been Jim Rutherford's guy. He's never been Patrick Alvan's guy. Rutherford, the director of hockey ops, and Alvan, the general manager. Would not shock me if he's made the fall guy tomorrow, because it sounded like he was close to losing his job earlier this year. Again,
Bruce, not there it is. Bruce, there it isn't.
But it's not like it's Boudreau's fault. So that's what makes it so ironic and just emblematic of how silly that the Canucks organization is right now. But again, this is the illegal curve. Show. We focus on the Jets.
And if you want to hear about the Canucks in their kind of listless direction, tune into the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, because Kevin Woodley spoke rather extensively about that. He also spoke about Connor Hellebuck, if you want some insight into Connor Hellebuck. So
that was earlier this morning, so you can check it out.
Earlier this morning. So if you're interested in the Canucks, I'm not sure why you would be on a Jets show, but if you are, you can hear Kevin's comments.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I will say Kevin is a phenomenal guest.
Kevin provides as much insight and in-depth insight and with a sort of an analytic bent to that insight and speaks so eloquently about it that he's definitely worth checking out in case you missed it this morning. He was on right around 10:15 this morning on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. So about 75 minutes in for those of you who will be checking it out on the podcast of this show. 1-0 Jets after 20 minutes. Jets controlled the first period and they get that all-important second goal. Because when it's 1-0, as we talked about, boom, anything can happen. It could be, one bad shot, one bad bounce. Then it becomes 1-1. Jets make it 2-0, and it's not a player that you expected, not necessarily a player any of us expected to be in the lineup tonight. Kyle Capobianco getting his first as a member of the Winnipeg Jets. Sam Gagner and Pierre-Luc Dubois with the assists. It's a clean face-off win, and when you win clean, when you win the face-off clean and you bring it back to the point. And he was pretty funny in the intermission interview with Scott Oak. He said, "I assume somebody tipped it because I don't shoot hard enough to beat a goalie clean from the point." Well, so far it's still his goal. So apparently he does shoot hard enough to beat the goalie clean. In this case, he beat Spencer Martin clean, and it's 2-0 for the Jets. 5 minutes and into the second period, Dave.
Okay, well, two things. First of all, I was curious if on the plane they were going to play Big Bad Leroy Brown, because that's of course his music here in Winnipeg if he scores a goal. And the other thing I forgot to mention was that Josh Morrissey, with the assist on the first goal, hit 200 points for his career. So that's he achieved that milestone. Pretty nice for him. And yeah, I mean, look, we thought Ville Heinola would go in. Now, we also, I said this morning, I have no idea about his health status because he wasn't able to play on Thursday. I did think it was curious because I feel like he couldn't play on Thursday night and he was fine to go to Vancouver. That's fine. It means he was probably just getting over it. But remember, he hadn't played since December 3rd. That was his last Moose game. So it's not as if he's got a lot, he played last week. He hasn't missed the last 4. So while I thought he would get in the lineup, it wasn't 100%. And it sounded like, and like I said, when I watched the post game against Nashville, which was 2 nights ago, Capobianco was in the room. So it seemed like, well, he maybe wasn't 100% to be on the ice on Thursday morning. He obviously was fine to be in the room because, if you're trying to isolate the team from a guy who's dealing with some sort of situation, why would you want him, not out and about and mixing it up? And so he was clearly fine, sufficiently fine to be there. So we weren't sure how it was going to go. And is it some huge thing that Ville Heinola didn't get into the lineup? No, because again, you want Ville Heinola to have success. If you're a Jets fan and you're wanting the best for your team, whether it's the players who are currently in the lineup or the prospects, you want them to have the sort of best sort of game plan or blueprint for that success. And I think for Ville Heinola, that isn't necessarily, and look, guys, and I'm going to jump backwards, forwards, whichever way you want to talk about it. Nate Schmidt is out 4 to 6 weeks with an upper body injury. So there will be plenty of games for Ville Heinola in the Jets lineup. It's not as if he needed to get into this game or the world was going to end or his status as a top Jets prospect was going to be over. So the fact is you put Capobianco in to the game. And I mean, now having said that, I think anybody could have played against the Canucks. It wouldn't have been an issue for them because they were not a challenge for the defense in any way, shape, or form. But the fact is, you give him an opportunity. Maybe you don't play him tomorrow. I have no idea. But maybe you give him a chance. And I would imagine on Monday, they're not going to probably skate.
No,
so then he can
Monday will
play
be an off day.
Right. And then Tuesday's a heavy game, obviously. Oh no, that's the Ottawa game. Never mind.
Ottawa's Tuesday.
Yeah. I forgot. Ottawa's the Tuesday game. So you may be playing against Ottawa, or maybe get him into the lineup tomorrow. I'm not saying you don't.
It's all going to be about his conditioning. It's all going to be about, it's going to be a matter of what, like you said, he hasn't played in a while. He's been ill. And sometimes when we say hockey players are ill, they don't have the man colds that would put me in that put me in bed for a week.
Yes.
They actually have legitimate illnesses that are keeping them off the ice, like serious flu bugs or whatever it might be, whatever illness that they're undergoing. They have a higher pain tolerance than I do. I mean, I don't have a very high pain tolerance at all, but they're battling through illnesses better than I do. So if he's not healthy, and if his conditioning isn't up to snuff to play at an NHL level tomorrow, then you're going to give him another game off. It's just, you have to be able to gauge the player. You have to trust the player to be honest with you about how he's feeling. You have to trust, your training staff. That's why you pay them, to give you those assessments. So, and again, Ville Heinola, as excited as everyone is to see him get this stretch of games, and it's going to be a pretty good stretch of games. You don't want to put him behind the 8 ball for no reason when you don't need to. Maybe he needs another couple days, and you give him those couple days, and maybe he's in on Tuesday. I don't know. But the real coaches and the real and the training staff are going to make that decision, and the armchair coaches might just have to sort of take a deep breath and wait and let it play out. There's time for everything. There's time for everything to come to fruition. Kyle Capobianco played a very steady game for the Jets tonight. He scored. You saw that he was feeling okay when he had that sort of spinorama at the blue line. I think that was in the first period before he even scored. So if you that means Capobianco plays another game tomorrow, then so be it. Would be my comment. And if he ends up not playing that well, then that you can sort of throw your shoulders up and you move on, and you get Ehlers back in the lineup on Tuesday if he's healthy. Not Ehlers, Heinola. Sorry, you got Heinola back in the lineup.
I'm sure they'd love
Tuesday.
to have Ehlers in.
Yeah,
well
they'd like to have Ehlers back too. Yeah, no question. They would certainly like to do that. Anyways, 2-0 for the Jets at that point in time. And then the meeting of unusual goal scorers continues. That's what I dubbed it on Twitter as that. Thank you, Dave. It was sort of every now and then a stroke of genius comes to my brain. Neil Pionk makes it 3-0 at the 12:08 mark of the second, assist to Brendan Dillon and Cole Perfetti. It's another point shot. Yeah. I mean, it's another point shot. This one, I believe, had the great screen brought by Bo Horvat. The only problem with that, of course, is Bo Horvat was screening his old goaltender. And it's a shot from Pionk, and you can sort of see that Spencer Martin doesn't pick it up well. And it made it 3-0 at this point in time. And, it's nice passing play. The Jets move it around the zone. They did a good job gaining the zone and then using that sort of time and space to their advantage. And again, if it wasn't over at 2-0, it sure as hell was over at 3-0 because Vancouver had no push. They had no push in the entirety of the game. They, maybe had a bit of a push when it was 5-0, but that is nothing but lip service and trying to put some lipstick on the pig of the game that they had. But it was Pionk, his 5th of the year, at the 12:08 mark, Dave.
Well, as they say in the Rocky commercial, it's over, Rock. Because when it was 3-0, they had nothing. I mean, there was the likelihood of Vancouver pushing. That's why, like I said, I laughed when someone was upset that I had tweeted about the potential for success, because I was like, of the local hockey teams here in Winnipeg, one, because I don't think my tweets have anything to do with whether the Jets will have success or don't have success, but two, because we clearly had seen that Vancouver was not capable of really pushing back or coming back in this one. And so, yeah, I mean, you have to give Neil Pionk credit. You have to give, I said it as a joke on Twitter, but I said, you want offense from the defense, and that's what you've got, right? That's what Rick Bowness wanted. Sorry, not you, Drew. I don't think you cared one way or the other, but no, Rick Bowness wanted offense from his defense. And what did he get? He got 2 goals from his defenseman in the second period, which I believe either gives him 14 or 15 goals on the season. And he, what did the Jets have all season last year from all their defensemen? 24?
24, 25.
And Rick Bowness wants about 44, I think he said this year. I think that was his number. Yeah. So I'm not saying he's going to get that, but I mean, the fact is that you're getting a ton of production from your back end, and that's exactly what you need. And yeah, I mean, look, I didn't see that Captain Skittles. Captain Skittles is saying, man, that game was great. There were so many Jets fans. Did anybody see our KFC towels? I didn't see your KFC towels, but what I did
hear the Jets fans.
But what it felt like was when Toronto fans or Montreal fans enter the Winnipeg Arena and try to take it over. And you could tell right from the anthems, when the Jets fans yelled out True North, or when there was chants of Go Jets Go, or when there was cheering on a Jets goal, or even at the end of the game. And I don't want to jump ahead and ruin the ending if anybody didn't pay attention to the hockey game, but the Jets won. And when the Jets won,
breaking news here on the Illegal Curve post game show.
You can hear the cheering. I mean, it felt like, and people were messaging us saying, it was like it was a big number of, and Kevin Woodley himself said, don't expect it to be like they've been having problems selling the building out. So, and having, big crowds in Vancouver. And I don't not understand the reason based on what I saw in watching tonight's Canucks team. Again, missing some players, but you can understand why there were so many Manitobans, whether they are former Manitobans who live in BC or current Manitobans who decided to fly to Vancouver. But you know what? It was a great environment in Vancouver for Jets fans, because they certainly made it feel like it was more of a home game than a road game. Although the Jets, Drew, I should say the Jets have been phenomenal on the road, because that was their 5th straight win.
That's right. And I mean, it's, the Jets have been phenomenal. It's almost, you can just end it there, on the road, generally at home, everything else, they lose 2 in a row, then they immediately win 2 in a row. And that's just, all the points that they've banked. It's, they're up to 41 points on the year already. I mean, it's December 12th. It's December 18th, rather. Sorry, I'm a week behind.
Yeah.
That just tells you how impressive they are. I mean, what did I say? Boston's up to 50 points already. I think I saw earlier today, which is incredible. The Jets are up to 41, which is also pretty damn incredible as well. 3-0 for the Jets after 40 minutes, and it was just all a matter of what's going to happen in the third period in terms of how many more goals are going to get scored. Vancouver wasn't coming back from 3 goals down here, and they weren't coming down from 3 goals down when Sam Gagner scores 56 seconds into the third period. I mean, this just is further evidence of a team in Vancouver that wasn't interested in playing a hockey game tonight. You're down 3-0. You want to see a push. You want to see, you're likely not going to come back. But if you're down 3-0 and you're on home ice and it's the third period, you want to see a little bit of pride, a little bit of a push, a little bit of pride, a little bit of respect for your fans that have spent money, or the Jets fans that have spent money, a little bit of respect for your teammates, whomever. And instead, what happens, Sam Gagner on an absolutely beautiful passing play from Dubois and Connor, he gets his 5th of the year. And it was Harlem Globetrotter style out there. I mean, the Washington Generals, are sitting back and applauding the Vancouver Canucks for doing a pretty damn good rendition of their performance. And again, 4-0, 56 seconds into the third period, Dave.
Well, and one of the things I 100% agree. I didn't think Vancouver was coming back in the game, but had they scored relatively early, it makes it a little bit more interesting, right? 3-1.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, okay, there may be something there. We've crazier. Look, Vancouver was down 4-0, and they came back and I didn't think they were going to score 4 goals against Connor Hellebuck tonight, but they have shown an ability to do that when it was against Montreal. That game that went 7-6. Yeah. So it's not again, it's not impossible. It seems unlikely. It's almost like a team being up 33-0 at the second, at
halftime. Thank you for referencing it. You beat me to it, because I mean you saw the evidence of it earlier today. It's not the same sport, but look at the Vikings come back.
I was gonna say, and I'm not gonna steal your Vikings thunder, Drew, because you're true Viking. I go to Vikings games, but I'm not a true diehard like you. And the fact is, but like, things can happen, right? It's sports. That is the beauty of sports, is that there aren't foregone conclusions. We watch sports because the outcome isn't predetermined. So, you know what? You're expecting, like you said, you thought maybe Vancouver, maybe Bruce Boudreau would try and light a fire, like do something with his group. And instead, what the Jets did is they stepped on their necks and they snuffed them out, and it was over. That game, you score that quickly into the third period, that's the end of the game. I mean, it is absolutely over. It was over before, but we knew it was over when it was 4-0. The only thing we couldn't do was skip ahead and start the post-game show early, because we had to wait officially for it to be over, but it was over.
And on that point, we say good evening to everybody who just might be joining us or have joined us since we started this program. It is the Illegal Curve post-game show. We're talking about the Winnipeg Jets' 5-1 victory over the Vancouver Canucks. We do this after each and every Winnipeg Jets game. We also do the Illegal Curve hockey show on Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. Dave Manouk is wearing his backwards hat. I am your host, Drew Mindell. Again, if you haven't already done so, smash the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Get ready. You're going to have an opportunity to enter the Illegal Curve contest a little bit later on in the show. We're going to give a unique code word that will allow you to get some bonus entries, because we're going to give away some Winnipeg Jets gear. And of course, at the end of this month, we're going to give away tickets to an NHL game. The only way to do that, the only way for you to win, is by entering the Illegal Curve contest. The link to do so is in the show description. It's also all over our website, illegalcurve.com. So there's your sort of preamble reminder about what's still to come here this evening on the Illegal Curve, this morning now, I guess, on the Illegal Curve post-game show.
More importantly, nobody guessed this unique code word yet. Not Frosty, not Alan. Sorry, everyone. Nobody got this one. I went old school on this one. So
don't poke the bear, Dave. Don't poke the bear. You never know. They might guess it before you have an opportunity to throw it up on the screen there after the commercial messages. Jets make it 5-0 at the 7:59 mark of the third period. Axel Jonsson-Fjällby hits his second of the season, assist to Dylan Samberg. Everybody's getting on the scoreboard and on the score sheet in tonight's game. And this is just not even a junior level line change by the Canucks, because that's insulting to junior teams. They know better than to take this line change. They just take a casual, slow, mistimed line change, and Sandberg headmans it up to Axel Jonsson Fialbi, and he just goes in and he beats and he beats Spencer Martin, to make it 5-0 for the Jets at that point in time. It's just an absolutely embarrassing performance by the Canucks. You can't just take that kind of line change. It shows that you have no interest in participating in the game. We already sort of knew that based on their performance at that point in time. But if you need anything else, if you need some additional video, if Bruce Boudreau needs something else to watch to see, his team basically quit on the ice, well, there's further evidence of it.
Yeah, I mean, no, I am muted myself. I am muted myself.
Good man.
First of all, great stretch pass by Dylan Sandberg. Great on him to recognize that the Canucks had decided to go on the most atrocious line change of all time. Joking, of course. Maybe not. I don't know. I'd have to I don't know. Think there's a stat or a list of the all-time terrible line changes, but yeah, it wasn't good. And you're down 4-0, and it's embarrassing, and it's really not nice to your goaltender who's you've left him out to dry already a little bit, and now he's got to stop that one. And good for Axel Jonsson Fialbi, who obviously came out of the lineup and he wants to make an impact again. So he's a little bit motivated, and it was a nice top corner goal for him. And I mean, was it a highlight reel goal? Should he have stopped it? Probably. But at the same time, you give the Jets credit, because it's one of the things we talk about. And it's funny because I was talking about it with Mark Morrison, the Moosehead coach today, because I said, how hard is that when you've built up a lead, to really keep your team engaged in the contest and not allow them to just kind of like coast. And he said, Dave, that's the most brilliant question I've ever been asked. I said, I appreciate that. Just kidding. But if you want to hear what he said to me, I'm not going to reveal the answer right now.
Yeah.
If you want to hear what he said to me, go on to legalcurve.com, check out the Manitoba Moose game recap, and you can hear all the comments from Jeff Malott, Declan Chisholm, and head coach Mark Morrison. But the point is that it is hard to keep your team engaged in a game, which is essentially you've got it won. I mean, it's essentially over, and yet your team is still rolling. And that, to me, again, you're not embarrassing your opponent. And to be honest, your opponent's embarrassing themselves if that's the effort they're putting forth. And it's not as if the Jets were running up the score. It was like 10, 11, 12, nothing. But the Jets took advantage of the opportunities they presented. They didn't like tipsy doodle. And I like that. I like the fact that the Jets respected the game enough to keep it going. And at the end of the day, if Vancouver is giving it to you, take it. And if Axel Jonsson feel, because again, what did we talk about? You want that third line, you want that fourth line to feel good. You want them to be engaged. You want them to be scoring goals and contributing, because it can't just come from your big dogs every game. And so if you get a guy like Axel Jonsson VLB scoring his second, and I know Sam Gagner is on one of the top lines, so him scoring is a bit of a different factor. But having 5 goals from him, I mean, how good does that signing look compared to the Paul Stastny potential, which would have cost you more money? And Paul Stastny has one. What does he have? 1 goal? He has 6 assists.
He's got maybe 1 goal, and he's been a healthy scratch many times.
The points aren't a huge disparity. I think Sam Gagner has 5 and 5, and I think Paul Stastny is like 1 and 6. But the point is that Stastny would have cost you more money, and Gagner didn't cost you as much. So I just think like you're getting contributions. So that's it. I liked the fact that the Jets kept it up and kept rolling and didn't sit back and didn't allow Vancouver to be like, okay, it's 4-0. We're good. We'll coast. We've got Seattle tomorrow. Like I said, I don't think they were killing themselves. I just think they stayed in that contest, and I like that.
That's right. They were doing what they were treating the game with respect, and they were taking the opportunities that were available to them without doing anything risky that was potentially going to jeopardize the lead that they had. Exactly. Vancouver finishes off the scoring. It's Bo Horvat, his 22nd assist to Quinn Hughes, and Connor Garland comes on the power play at the 14:36 mark. The only difference is, of course, is that just this ruins Connor Hellebuyck's shutout. But it's another game where Hellebuyck only gives up 1 goal, and I'm sure he's going to be very happy with the performance of the team in front of him and his teammates in putting 5 goals up on the board for him, resulting in him, of course, getting the victory, and the Winnipeg Jets themselves getting the victory. Tough Duck, hardest hitting comment. You never know when I'm going to do it. Usually Ezzy does it when he meanders his way through it, and you're never quite sure. Usually he does it after the break. Here, Winnipeg's broken Zamboni. Jets have 18 more points at the start of Hanukkah this year as compared to last year when they were Vermelked, which is not a Yiddish word to be, even though it sounds like it might be, when they were Vermelked on the second night of Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah, lads. First night of Hanukkah, of course, is tomorrow. I started my celebrations a little bit early. We had a little Hanukkah party over here at the house tonight. I'm sure, Dave M., you got many a Hanukkah get-together planned as well. So happy Hanukkah to Winnipeg's broken Zamboni. Happy Hanukkah to Dave M. Happy Hanukkah to anybody who's joining us in the chat and celebrates or just knows somebody who might be celebrating. Winnipeg's broken Zamboni, send me an email, drew@illegalcurve.com, or slide into my DMs at ICDrew. And we will get a Tough Duck toque sent out to you because of your comment on the screen. You are the winner of tonight's Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. When we come back, more on tonight's Jets-Canucks game. Jets 5-1 victors in the Pacific Northwest. We'll look ahead to tomorrow against Seattle, and we'll touch on the injury announcements that were made earlier today with Nate Schmidt and Blake Wheeler, both going to be out of the lineup for the next month or so. Much more to come. Dave Manouk, Drew Mindell, this is the Illegal Curve post-game show. We're live on YouTube. Don't go anywhere.
Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the biggest acts and all the up-and-comers. They've all made their mark at Rumors Comedy Club, North America's longest-running independent comedy club. Rumors has kept Winnipeg laughing for over 25 years. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends or book your office or birthday party, even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
He winds up. Oh, looks like Ezzy took that one right in the choppers.
A blistering fast puck hurts like HE double hockey sticks. That's why I let the pros at Linden Market Dental Center turn my yow into
wow.
Get your brilliant smile back with state-of-the-art restorative and cosmetic dentistry from real pros.
And remember, always wear a mouth guard.
Now that's solid on ice advice. Learn more at lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Dave, my man, why are you in the car already? It's hours until game time.
Drew, it's because I'm stressed out right now, driving around downtown Winnipeg, looking for a parking spot, and I'm not finding one. I've lost Ginsburg. I don't even know where that guy is right now.
Dave, haven't I taught you anything? Do what I do. Pre-book your entire month's worth of game day parking with the Grid Park app. It's super easy to use and saves me both time and stress.
Well, Drew, I'm not independently wealthy like you are. So I'm sorry that I don't have millions of dollars to pre-book my parking month in advance. What's that going to cost you? $25?
How about $5?
Come on, $5? No way.
$5. I'm not telling you a lie. And our listeners can get a free park with the new special promo code Illegal Curve. Guess what? There's more.
Come on, there's more, Drew. You're lying to me. What more could there be?
Grid Park now has underground parking, so my car can stay warm during the game.
So wait a second. All the driving around I do, looking for parking, minus 40. You're telling me I could be toasty warm in a car after the hockey game?
That's exactly what I'm telling you. Underground parking. Just download the Grid Park app. That's GRYD Park and use the code Illegal Curve. All one word. You'll park for free your first time.
Hi, it's Drew from Illegal Curve here. Selling your home can be stressful, but it wasn't for me. Thanks to my friends at Zappia Group Realty, they made the process so easy. My home sold within 48 hours and with multiple offers. Zappia Group Realty took care of everything with their exquisite customer service and attention to detail. If you want to sell your home for more in less time, get started by talking to Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Online at zappiagroup.com.
For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the Illegal Curve hockey show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com. 12:30 in the morning. Welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk with you. We're going to be doing it again later on today, right around 9:30 tonight. So in about, let me do some quick math. That's 21 hours from now, we're going to be doing the Illegal Curve post-game show yet again, following the Jets and the Seattle Kraken. The Jets on the second half of a back-to-back situation, of course. Short flight. I think it's about a 30-minute flight from Vancouver to Seattle. So it would not surprise me if they're already in Seattle, getting ready. And so it won't be that late of a night for the guys. It's more about the wear and tear on them after playing 2 games in 21 hours or 22 hours.
I'm not sure how much wear and tear they experienced in that Vancouver game, Drew.
Well, no, Dave, didn't you see the stat keeper had the hits in the first period at something like 15-1 in favor of Vancouver? And I'm not sure if the stat keeper was just had fallen asleep on like the hit button for the Canucks or something.
They had one of those like birds.
Yeah, exactly. It was like the Homer's bird. Hey, Marge, I tripled my productivity just by hitting the Y button instead of YES. It was, the NHL needs to improve things like that.
Well, that's why whenever people are talk about stats as if they're infallible, I'm like, I've met some of the stats folks. You might want to chill with that.
Well, you might not want to bet on hits. That's what I would tell you for sure. If betting companies are relying on the NHL, when it comes to like, body checks, over 3.5 body checks a game for Brendan Dillon or something, you really might want to, save your shekels on that one and, use some of our other bets that our friends at Betway have available that are more reliable. Points, assists, goals, those are reliable. There's no gray area about that. There's no subjectivity really about that. But the hits guys, their attention to
they're a little trigger happy, I think, when they're pressing.
Might be a little lacking at times. Let's talk about the injuries, Dave, because that's, of course, was the big story in the run-up to the game. It was announced after morning skate when Blake Wheeler wasn't on the ice that he's going to be out 4 weeks. He had to have groin surgery at some point, presumably after Thursday's game.
I believe it was Friday. He had it.
Yeah, he had to have groin surgery. We saw him take the puck in a spot you don't ever want to take a puck, and I don't know for certain that there's any direct correlation, and it hasn't been confirmed one way or the other, so I'm not going to speculate. But the point is, Blake Wheeler is out of the Jets lineup for the next month. Nate Schmidt, after the hit from Tanner Jeannot, it wasn't the concussion that's putting him out for 4 to 6 weeks, but he's got an upper body injury. Looks like it's probably something to do with his shoulder, after the hit is what I'm speculating, something like that. So the injury bug, which is already, reared its ugly head, is rearing its ugly head again for the Winnipeg Jets. I guess, how do they weather this? Is it just, again, the same sort of next man up attitude? We sort of saw, I think it was Rick Bowness who said something along the lines of, we look at it as an opportunity for someone else, or we don't dwell on what happened. We look for solutions, which is, so they're definitely the right attitude to take. Is that just has to be the mindset for the Jets, or do you think that they go out and explore maybe the waiver wire again, or they look to see if there's a trade available? This isn't a team that frequently makes in-season trades, but I go back, and I think I mentioned this a number of weeks ago when they had the litany of injuries on the back end. Oh gosh, how many years ago would that have been now? 5 years ago, maybe even more than that. And they went out and acquired Jay Harrison.
That was 2015, Drew, wasn't it?
It very well might have been. It might have been 15.
It was 15.
So 7 years ago when they went out and acquired Jay Harrison from the Carolina Hurricanes for basically, I think it was a future, or it was a late round draft pick, because they needed live bodies on the back end. They had so many defensive injuries.
So they subsequently traded him to Chicago. Was any part of the Andrew Ladd trade?
he might have been part of the Andrew Ladd trade.
He was.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he was thrown in as part of the Andrew Ladd trade, if I
Yeah.
recall correctly. Anyways, yeah, I mean, although, now that we know what that Blake Wheeler was experiencing, his fall when there was nobody around him in the third period, right? Like, and I joked about it. I was like, who shot him from the grassy knoll, because there was nobody around him.
Yeah.
And he just was skating, and all of a sudden he just fell. And I'm like, well, that was unusual. And now maybe makes a little more sense. He was obviously dealing with something. And yeah, I mean, Rick Bowness talked about how tough Blake Wheeler must have been to be able to have gone back and into the game, let alone just experiencing that, but to go back into the game. And yeah, that's an impressive testament to the ability of him to overcome that sort of.
Can you imagine the pain he must have been in?
No, I can't. I would rather not, actually, but in fact, that would, it's a little too squeamish. So, but look, I mean, I think you have to have that mentality, and that's a mentality that is, it's a word I love to use. And I've been using that word consistently throughout the course of the year, because the reason why you have a good farm club is because when you need to rely on them, you can. And ultimately, if you need to go and get guys, you get guys from the waiver, you know what that does? That probably pisses off the guys who are down on the farm who are looking for that next opportunity, and it makes them want to work harder. And that's what this group does. I mean, they really do. And, I was happy that the Jets, coincidentally, just in between the second Moose goal and the third Moose goal, there was a lull. So I was able to get all the Jets news up on the website before the third Moose goal. So I was very appreciative in that regard, Drew. But I mean, ultimately, this is a situation where you have these guys down on the farm, like Declan Chisholm. I mean, he's a guy, he had 3 assists today, and he's a guy who's looking for that opportunity, got the taste, played 2 games last year. He's ready to, I'm not saying he's necessarily ready to be an everyday NHLer, but he's looking for that next opportunity. So if that opportunity presents itself, Ville Heinola obviously as well, a guy like Leon Kavanke, he had a goal and assist. I think there's a lot. Remember what Kevin Stedman said to me, a month ago, whatever it was, the Jets are watching. I mean, you have the Jets. I mean, there's a lot of guys, there's a lot of people here, don't realize it, but there's a lot of people when I'm at the Moose games, there's a lot of the brass that are in the press box as well, watching these games. They're watching what these players are doing. And so they're knowing, okay, well, we need to add in, look, if the Jets see an opportunity on the waiver, an Axel Jonsson-Fjällby, a Carson Kuhlman. Okay, great.
I thought Carson Kuhlman played well tonight. All of a sudden he's playing on the top line. I thought he had a couple shots on goal. The truth is, was it Perfetti who put a pass that just sort of hopped on
first
him
period?
In the first period.
Yeah.
It looked like it should have been the 1-0 goal.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So he's a guy who it cost you nothing to bring him on, and you took a marginal risk, really none at all, and you've got him in the fold, and now you've got room if you need to make another recall, and you don't have to. And I would tend to think that you probably don't do it unless you're banged up, and we know that possibility exists. Hence the reason why Ville Heinola was recalled on an emergency basis. So it's possible that they want to have a little more insurance. And there's a lot of guys who are clamoring down on the Moose. I would tend to think that they'd go to the Moose next, because you do want to reward these guys.
Yeah, sure.
It's one thing to get a guy who you think can be a nice addition like a Carson Kuhlman, but there are a number of guys who are down on the Moose right now and are hustling and are working hard and are working for that next opportunity. Like Jeff Malott, he's up to 12 goals on the season. He had another pair today. So there's guys who are down, with Manitoba that are, wanting to take that next step. And you don't want to leave a bad taste in their mouth thinking, okay, well, we're doing what we need to do. We're producing for the minor league club, and yet we're not getting the recall when that opportunity presents itself. So I would tend to believe, I don't think the Jets are going to make a trade, because for right now, you've weathered the storm, right? Like you really have. First of all, you've been dealing with injuries for a while, obviously, because Ehlers only played the first 2 games. So you've been dealing without Nikolai Ehlers. You've had a number of guys, absent anyways. And so, and you've got 20 wins in 30 games, right? You got, as you said, Drew, 41 points. So right now, if the Jets can kind of keep up with this pace, which, really only sees them lose every 4th game, then it's a different story in terms of what your needs are and whether you have to do something. So they've done what we talk about. They need to build a cushion in the standings bank. That's exactly what they've done. They've put away a lot of early points in the season, which kind of, it's like a bear hibernating. It's like Big Daddy hibernating. You eat a lot, you build up your fat reserves, it allows you to kind of deal with a lean winter. So the Jets, if they need to, have done that to a certain
Lean and
degree.
Big Daddy don't go together very well.
Well, if we forced Ezzy to fast for a long time, then it's possible that it would be leaner. But the point is, but then he'd be meaner. We don't want him to be lean and mean. We just like him the way he is.
That's right. We like him fattened up and jovial. It's much better that way. Dave M, let's give away some contest stuff
Sure.
before we wrap up the show, and of course we'll still do a Moose Minute because the Moose played tonight, and you'll touch on that before we wrap up tonight's show.
Sure.
The Illegal Curve unique code word for the day, and again, as I mentioned to everyone, the way to enter the Illegal Curve contest. There's a whole list of things you can do to generate entries, and the more of those things you do, the more entries you get. The more entries you get, the more chances you have to win the prizes we give away after each and every Winnipeg Jets game, and of course the grand prize at the end of each month, where you get an opportunity for you to go to a hockey game of your choosing. The unique code word for tonight, still nobody guessed it?
No, as of about 5 minutes ago, nobody guessed it. I went 80s sitcom, or not sitcom, yeah, 80s sitcom.
80s Canadian
Danger
television.
Bay. Yeah, it's classic. Dr. What was his name? Dr. Fred Grant, I think was his
I was
name.
never a Danger Bay guy. I think Danger Bay always came on after the Raccoons, and I was always upset when that happened because I was a big Raccoons guy.
Well, Danger Bay made me want to be a marine biologist. So is anyone
How's
here a
that
marine
going for you?
biologist?
Yeah, how's that going for you?
I didn't become one, but I often reference it from Seinfeld. But I will say, watching
Is it
Danger
a Titleist?
Bay, hole in one.
Yeah.
I would say that no. So Danger Bay, Beachcombers. Well, Derek Richards. Sorry, Derek Richards, but I had to come up with something that people weren't going to guess because Alan and Frosty, they're always getting it. Phyllis like Danger Bay. Hey Bailey, she's just saying, hey, oh no way. See, Frosty Winnipeg's upset. Danger Bay, folks. I'll have another one for Seattle tomorrow. But
Dave
nobody
M
got
wins.
it.
Congratulations, Dave M. This is your great accomplishment. You finally win.
Beachcombers would have been a good one. I agree, Doug Thorsky, but maybe people would have thought of Beachcombers. I went Danger Bay, and hey, nobody guessed it. It's Vancouver based. It was based out of Vancouver, so the theming continues. And I'll have another tough one for you guys tomorrow. But just remember, enter that unique code word, and because it's a back-to-back, make sure. I agree with you, Nicole J. I love Danger Bay too. But remember, you enter it in now, or we'll keep it up. I'll keep this one up until the Seattle game. So you'll have maximum. So if you're listening on the podcast, you'll have time to get it in tomorrow.
Yes, you'll have basically from now until tomorrow's puck drop at 7:00 thereabouts to put in the unique code word for tonight, which is Danger Bay, all one word, all caps. And of course, with the unique code word, we also have a winner to announce.
Yes.
And today's merchandise contest winner is none other than Chris Kaufman. Congratulations to Chris. He is the winner of the Illegal Curve merchandise contest for tonight's game. And that's a great accomplishment. There he is. I see him in the chat. Presumably Chris Koff and Chris Kaufman are the same person. But
I hope. I don't know, actually.
Now that I think about it, I'm not 100% sure. But hopefully Chris Koff in the chat is the same Chris Kaufman who's the winner of tonight's Illegal Curve merchandise contest.
This Chris is saying, thanks, boys. So if it is, in fact, or maybe it's the short form. See, this is the reason why I have to do the verification, because I don't want to confuse Chris Koff with Chris Kaufman.
Yes.
But we'll see. We'll see if that is the same person.
Look, Chris, the way it works,
Chris is saying that it is the same.
He thinks it is, and look, it's on to be perfectly sure, Chris. All we need to do is draw a little bit of blood and take a DNA swab. We'll send it off to the lab, and then we'll be able to guarantee that you are both Chris Koff and Chris Kaufman, and as a result, the winner of tonight's Illegal Curve merchandise contest. Very reasonable processes, very strict processes.
Again, Drew, you're gonna have to disclaim so people understand. Yes. Drew is clearly kidding.
Hang on.
Oh, Chris is saying no. Actually, you don't have to. Chris is already saying his blood is yours, so we're good.
Excellent.
We got it. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
Maybe I'll wear it around your neck. Who was it? Was that Billy Bob or Billy?
Bob Thornton?
It was Angelina. Yeah, Angelina Jolie and what's his name? What was the actor's name?
Billy Bob Thornton.
Billy Bob Thornton. They used to wear vials of blood around each other around their
neck. They're wackadoos.
Yeah, that's a good word for it as well. Yes, is something I won't be doing, but all the power to you if that's something that you want to do with your other.
Chris is saying you're his Angelina. Way to go, Drew.
I'm humbled. I'm really touched. It's one of the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me in the chat for a while.
I see After Dark has gotten a little dark. darker
Well,
than
I'll tell
Drew's
you what,
room when he's not there.
Yeah, it's been a weird IC day between the conversations we were having way too early in the morning to be having those conversations, and now the conversations we're having, which is also probably way too early in the morning to be having those conversations as well. It's been a very entertaining day of a Legal Curve broadcast, but we can't end it without doing one very important thing.
Put on your antlers. It's time for the Minuk Moose Minute on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
Well, hello everyone. How are you?
Welcome back.
Welcome to the broadcast. The Moose were in action. They were the ones who got things started at 2:00 at Canada Life. Coincidentally, that time will be the same tomorrow when they have a rematch. This is a short homestand, and then they'll be back just before. I think this is actually tomorrow would be their last Christmas game, which means it's the last time to see them in their white jerseys. But you'll be
What
able to
about
see
New Year's Eve?
No, before Christmas, I said.
Oh, does it switch at Christmas, or does it switch
I'm pretty sure
in the New Year?
I'm pretty sure it's Christmas. I think it's the Christmas break. After the Christmas break, they switch. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. And for the record, I wish the NHL did that. It's one of the things that the NHL doesn't do that the AHL does. And I really do wish that the NHL would switch jerseys.
The NHL prides itself on being aggressively against their fans.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe, but I just think like it is an opportunity for them to have
jerseys.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't say that selfishly because I want my photographers to have different pictures and that sort of thing. But anyways, point is good crowd on hand after, the Milwaukee games at the beginning of December had, I think, over 11,000 between the two of them. I think there were 3,000 or 4,000 in attendance today. Like I said earlier in the broadcast, Drew, it was the teddy bear toss game. All the teddy bears tossed went for the in support of the Christmas cheerboard. So that's a really good cause, obviously. And so fans got a chance to wrap the teddy bears. And here in Manitoba, they do it a little different than in a lot of other rinks where it's the first goal that creates the throwing the teddy bear on the ice. But the Moose do it a little different. They do it at the first intermission. So instead, the game actually got started with the Moose scored because they were on the PK. But Cole Meyer, the alternate captain who's feeling healthy because he missed some games, and he scored shorthanded. Really nice kind of solo effort by him to make it 1-0. And the Moose were the crowd was into it. The feelings were good. The Senators Farm Club, a lot of their young talent is already up with Ottawa. So they're and it's an interesting sort of situation because you've got Belleville here for 2 games and then Ottawa's here on Tuesday. So it's that sort of situation where you get to watch the 3, the Farm Club and the parent club in a quick succession of games. But the Moose kept on rolling. And Daniel Torgerson, the 2020 second rounder, 2019 second rounder is Simon Lundmark. The 2020 second rounder is Daniel Torgerson. And he scored his second on the on a nice, knowing the boards. He pulled a Leon Gavanke shot off the boards, put it into the back of the net. So the Moose had a 2-0 lead. And then Leon Gavanke on the special teams on the power play for the Manitoba Moose, he scored to make it 3-0. Nice little pass from Declan Chisholm. And the Moose had a 3-0 lead. The Teddy Bears were flying onto the ice. And similar to the Jets game, once it was 3-0, it kind of felt like this game was over. But how would the second period kind of go about? Well, the Moose did exactly what the Jets did in the third period, a period earlier. In the second period, the Moose, I think it was just 24 seconds in, Evan Polai, nice little play by Nicholas Jones. Evan Polai gets a puck loose in front. He scores. So he then forces the netminder out. Moose are up 4-0, but it doesn't really make a difference because Jeff Malott on a delayed penalty call, 6-on-5, he scores. He's the Moose leading scorer. That was his 11th of the year. So now it's a 4-0 game has become a 5-0 game. And it's amazing because it's a 5-0 game, and Arvid Holm still had to be very good. He made 18 of 19 saves in the second period. So Belleville was still firing a lot of shots, and they actually had a number of odd man rushes, but Arvid Holm was up for the task with the exception of one goal they scored. Similarly to the Moose, they actually scored on a delayed penalty, 6-on-5 opportunity. But then Jeff Malott early in the third period. So the Moose were able to do it in quick succession every period where they scored a early goal to kind of take control of the period. And they did the same thing in the third period. Jeff Malott, his second goal of the game, nice little play by Dominic Tonnato, put it in front. And then Malott just kind of redirected it home. So now it was 6-1 and Belleville scored a meaningless goal to make it 6-2, but that was it. And then I will, of course, have to mention, because of course, Tico Napoli is in the chat. And I have to mention, of course, the 2026 rounder Tyrell Bauer, who's quickly becoming a fan favorite. Big fight in Alberta, big first pro goal. And what did he do today? Big tilt in the third period. Had a big thunderous hit in front of the Moose net, and then he dropped the gloves. Nice little tilt. And folks loved that. Folks also love the fact that Jeff Malot's goal won them pancakes. I asked Jeff Malott after the game. I said, do you ever, like, you won the game. You won, like, all the people in the building pancakes. Do you ever get the pancakes? He said, well, I'm going to have to give them a try. I'll let you know. So Jeff Malott may give those pancakes a whirl. We'll see. But the point is the Moose won 6-2, and they improved to 13-7, 2-1 on the season. And they'll have a rematch with Belleville tomorrow afternoon.
And I'm reliably informed that the kids at Grosvenor School did a great job singing the national anthem earlier today, because some friends of ours and friends of my kids go to Grosvenor School, and I know that they were excited to be on the ice.
Well, there are a lot of, Drew, I will tell you, there were a lot of kids, so much so actually, that what ended up happening was they were still filing into the onto the ice.
Yeah.
While they were like 75% of them were on the ice. Excuse me. And so the announcer was like, Grosvenor School. And, like they do the announcement, the anthem will be done by Grosvenor School. But then they were still filing on. So he actually did it again. He's like, and let's give him another big hand for Grosvenor School.
And the third time, let's hear from the folks at Grosvenor School.
But the kids did a good job, and there were lots of kids in the crowd, lots of teams. And like I said, a lot of nice, the Bears tossed onto the ice in the first intermission. We have that on our Legal Curve Instagram if you want to check that, or on my Twitter. So look, a big win for the Moose, and they want to keep it rolling. And like I said, if you have any questions about the game, well, the answers are contained in the Legal Curve post-game recap, which of course now we have two of them on the site. But the Moose one says Moose toss the Senators 6-2 while their fans toss teddy bears.
Oh, well done. Look at
Not
you,
bad.
headline writer Dave Manouk,
See,
man of many talents.
People get mad at writers because they don't write their own headlines. Well, here at Illegal Curve, we don't have fancy headline writers.
No,
so your fancy headline writer is also the guy who writes.
We also don't have editors. We don't have a lot of things that professional organizations have. That shit costs money. That's coming out of the bottom line. We ain't dealing with that.
We don't need that, Drew. Let them be cumbersome and bulky.
That's right.
We're nimble and agile. That's what we do.
That is us, nimble and agile. Well, I mean, at least in our business operations, not so much in real life, where agility and nimbleness is not my strengths, or Ezzy's, or yours for that matter as well. That is a big night of victories for the Winnipeg-based hockey teams.
And the Ice beat Brandon in Winnipeg 4-3 in overtime, I believe.
Yeah, I wonder if Mike Sawatsky wrote the post-game story or not. If you missed it, some beef, and we love beef here at Illegal Curve, both the edible kind and when people are arguing with each other. The Winnipeg Ice taking issue with Mike Sawatsky's reporting from earlier this week. You can check that out if you want more in that. I'm sure it's all over Twitter or all over maybe it might even be on the Free Press website or on the Ice website.
I'm sure.
I
haven't had a chance to
I'd go into a little bit deeper, but it's 12:53 in the morning, and we have to do this again in very few hours, because that's just what we do here at Illegal Curve. So Ice win, Moose win, Jets win. Good night for all the Winnipeg-based teams. Before we wrap it up, we want to say a big thank you to our sponsors. Frosty Winnipeg, get it ready, my good man. They make the post-game show. They make the Saturday show. They make the website.
True. Frosty was ahead of us. He did it like 10 minutes ago.
Oh, did he? He just left. He was ready to go.
No, 12:52. So 2 minutes ago. Sorry, I've got it up there now.
Our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Betway. They're the title sponsor here of this fine post-game show. Tough Duck, Boston Pizza, Seagram's, Rolly's Transfer, Grid Park, and The Keg. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. Next show, tomorrow night, 9:45 p.m., right around there. The Jets and Kraken are playing in Seattle. We'll be back here. I believe it's myself and Ezra. Dave M., you get the night off, if I'm not mistaken, tomorrow night. Ezzy and I will be back to recap the Jets and the Kraken tomorrow night. Until then, if you haven't already done so, smash the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel. leave us feedback on the YouTube channel. That's great. Leave us feedback on the podcast. That's also great. On like the Apple iTunes page, I think you get some contest entries if you do that.
10 to be precise.
There you go. 10 entries for leaving us feedback on the Apple iTunes page. Leave us a 5-star review if you're so kind.
Be sure to enter Drew. We don't thumb the scale. We don't tell people what to do.
No, I said if they're so kind. I just said if they're so kind. I didn't say they have to do it. If you haven't already done so, the unique code word for tonight, of course, was Danger Bay. Get your contest entries in, as there's only about another 400 games before the end of the year, if I'm not mistaken. Dave Manouk is on the right of the screen. I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow at 9:45. Until then, we wish you good morning and good night. This has been the Illegal Curve post-game show.
Thanks for listening to this broadcast from Illegal Curve Hockey. For more great Illegal Curve content, subscribe to the Illegal Curve YouTube channel, follow at Illegal Curve on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and visit your online home for hockey in Winnipeg, illegalcurve.com.